morning, everyone. I just took a seat next to the beach, next to the sea, which is pretty nice out here. I just had breakfast, and yeah, I was able to get some rest after yesterday's tough game, which is always really important. Today I'm playing against GM Gleb, who is around my age, so I know him pretty well also from some other tournaments. And yeah, I have the white pieces again, so I'll start preparing a bit later. I, in general, don't want to prepare too much because it's just more important to have the energy for the game, I think. Maybe I'll go for a brief walk now. I have some other stuff to do in the room as well. So let's see what I'll be up to. But yeah, I'm thinking of playing knight f3 on the first move. Still not decided yet, but I might just play like my standard repertoire without preparing that much. But yeah, we'll see, and I'll see you guys later. So the game is about to start in a bit more than 10 minutes. I switched up my ideas with going knight f3 in the first move, but I'm going to play the Catalan. Yeah, I just feel like going for the Catalan today, since I've checked it also quite a lot recently, and I have pretty good results with that. So yeah, let's see what he comes up with. I'll try to stay solid, of course, as usual. And yeah, I didn't prepare it that much, to be honest. I just went to the city to get some coffee and just to enjoy the place here. Had a view on the ocean. I was just sitting on some bench for some time, and I was looking at the horizon because it's just really beautiful here. And yeah, I just want to be able to go to the game with full energy. So yeah, let's see how it goes, and I will see you after the game. Welcome back, guys. I just finished my game against GM Gleb, and let's have a look and see what happened. So I had the white pieces, and as I announced before, I went for d4. Before the game, I was thinking if I should go d4 or knight f3. I didn't feel like going e4 again today, which is funny because my opponent then actually told me that he didn't even prepare for e4, even though I played it yesterday. So he also had the feeling that, yeah, I'm not sticking to the same first move that often, which was correct for that game. So I went for d4, he went d5, c4, e6, and now knight f3. As I said before, I was about to play the Catalan in this game, so after knight f6 I wanted to go g3. But here he played c6, which surprised me a little bit, since he didn't go to this sort of Slav that often. At least not in this move order. And here I went e3. I already had a couple of games here, and he went for bishop d6, which is a very flexible move, since often black wants to go f5, so therefore he delays the development of the knight on g8. For example, after knight c3 it would make quite a lot of sense to go f5. But I went bishop d3 first. The point is, if I go knight c3, then f5 makes a lot of sense, is that, for example, if black goes f5 now, let's say white goes short castle, knight f6, and here I have this important idea of going b3 followed by bishop a3. And positionally, I want to exchange these bishops, since the bishop on d6 is very active. And in general, in these stonewall structures, it's all about this weak square on e5. And therefore it's very important to exchange the bishop. Even after something like queen e7, white often loses a lot of time to still exchanges. For example, a4 would be one idea, even though white weakens the square on b4, then followed by bishop a3. Or the other idea would be bishop b2, followed by queen c1 and bishop a3. So exchanging these bishops is very important here in this position. And as I was saying, if I would go knight c3 first, then after f5, it would become significantly harder to exchange the bishop on c1, since I don't have this b3 bishop a3 idea anymore. So I went bishop d3, and now he went for knight f6, realizing that now if he goes f5, he would allow this plan with b3 bishop a3. So he went back to knight f6, knight bd2, and now knight d7. In general, about knight d2, it has often some advantages for white to put the knight here. Knight c3 would transpose to some sort of Maran, with the bishop already being on d6. Usually we have the same position with the knight being on d7 instead of the bishop on d6, but it does make a lot of difference, since black anyway mostly develops the bishop here to d6. And now after d takes c4, bishop takes c4, black always has these ideas with b5, hitting the bishop, and then b4, again attacking the knight, winning a lot of time. And with the knight on d2, this is not possible. And also, if you would take now on c4, I can take back with the knight, already threatening to take the bishop. So he went knight d7 now, short castle and castle. Here I was already spending some time, because I knew
a couple of lines here for white. b3 is one of them, and now the issue is e5. I knew this line a little bit, and I didn't want to allow it. If black would go short castle now, I think it would be a bit inaccurate, since after bishop b2, now b6. A short castle would lead to some sort of semi-Slav again, where black is usually somewhat okay, going bishop b7 and then at some point c5. But here there is this very nice idea for white to delay castling kingside, which is actually pretty unknown, I think. So yeah, some opening ideas which have not been played. I'm just telling you. Queen e2 is one idea, and then often even some g4 ideas. I think bishop b7, g4. There was something like this, or e4 right away, just going for the attack on the king side. I think g4 was one idea here. When white often even castles long, and this can become pretty dangerous for black overall. But e5 is the equalizer here, and I still remember this line: c takes d5, c d5, d takes e5, knight e5, take on e5. Not take on e5. After takes here, I have to go rook b1, and black has a good position here since I lost so much time, and I'm not really able to consolidate against the isolated queen's pawn. But the line which I meant was after knight takes e5, bishop b5 check, and now knight c6, bishop b2, and short castle. And I was thinking of going for this position because I knew that it's playable. It's not a real advantage for white, but yeah, this is always a playable alternative. For example, short castle. When black has a couple of setups, he just could go bishop d7. But I feel like white has the little bit nicer position here, so this would be something maybe I could try in the future. But instead, I went short castle here, and knowing that this line after short castle e4 exists, but I did not really know much at all here. So I checked it maybe a couple of years ago, but couldn't recall much at all. About the move orders, now I remember also. I was thinking about going b3 now, which might be a smart idea, because now if he goes knight d7, I go bishop b2, and he doesn't have e5 anymore. But here there is this idea with knight e4 still, and I actually wasn't feeling so much like going into this stone wall structure in general today. So therefore I went knight d2, knight d7, short castle, now e4, and now he played e5. So he, I think, never had this line as well with black, so we were both somewhat out of book, even though it's a pretty big theoretical position. And I knew that black is the one who has to be accurate here. I mean, after cd5, now white is just a tempo up in a completely symmetrical position, but it's still not so much, and it's very hard to get something out here as white. e5 is therefore important if black would take on e4. After knight e4 takes. White has the big center, and both of the important pawn pushes with e5 and c5 don't work. I think e5 right away even fails tactically. At least I thought during the game, because in the end I have bishop h7 and queen h5 check. This idea often exists in this line, and I simply won a pawn here. So therefore this would be worse for black, this position. So e5 was played, cd5, and now after some thought I played rook e1, which is very logical. I don't really want to release the tension yet. After e takes d5, e takes d4, it will be similar to the game, but I thought the inclusion of rook e1 and rook e8 will probably favor me. So rook e1, he played rook e8. Actually, I checked the main move here is h6 for black, where white usually goes h3, so it's kind of like a waiting game, and now rook e8. This is like the main line, I believe. And yeah, it is also very similar to the game, only the inclusion of h6 and h3. Not so sure who it actually favors. But he went rook e8, which is arguably more logical. He should not break the tension right away. He cannot take on d4, just to mention, because I have e5. I'm just winning a piece here. And if he takes on e4, now all of my pieces come into the game with tempo. I thought this is quite dangerous for him, because I simply have the more active pieces. So he played rook e8, and I took on d5. He takes on d4, and here I again spent quite a lot of time and then went for knight e4, which is probably not the most critical try. I checked it with the engine, and the engine says that rook takes e8 is the most critical option. Queen takes e8, and now knight c4. I briefly thought about it, but I wasn't sure about this position. And I could also, as strange as it may sound, if I'm not careful here, I could lose this pawn and not regain the pawn on d4. It will most likely not happen, but yeah, it would be somewhat in the picture. I'm now not sure actually where the bishop goes. I think there was some, was it bishop c5 now maybe? I already can't recall. And there was some bishop f4 ideas, even though now I don't see what happens after knight takes d5. So I have to check this a bit a bit more careful, this line later on. But I went for knight e4, more or less forcing him to take. I also thought about bishop b4 here. When I did not check this with the engine, just a small disclaimer. I thought I can take on f6, take on e8, and now go something like queen b3. I think this was my intention. When black again loses some time, and if the bishop goes, then I'm even developing with the tempo. I want to take on f6. So I thought this could be unpleasant for him. Also, rook e1 is coming with the tempo. But he went for knight takes e4, which is a better move. And here I went for bishop e4, again, after a lot of thought, because I simply couldn't decide. Rook takes e4 is probably the more critical move, but after bishop e4, what I played, I missed his idea, which I will come to in a second. Rook takes e4 is probably more critical. We both here thought about knight f6. When after rook takes d4, black has a couple of options. He could go bishop c5. There are also some ideas on g4. I don't know, maybe he could go bishop g4 or knight g4 in some cases. But I thought bishop c5, rook h4, and now just h6, not allowing any bishop h7 businesses. When the rook on h4 is also can be quite misplaced. Rook e4, I was calculating knight f6, and now bishop g5, rook takes e4, bishop takes e4, h6, takes, and after queen d4, knight d4, I thought it should be, in general, not much at all for me. I am a pawn up, but black has a bishop pair, the dark square bishop is very strong, and I thought that if black doesn't blunder anything, it should be a pretty straightforward draw. Now I checked the most accurate way for black is to go bishop e5, which of course I saw. I wanted to go rook d1, and here I thought black can go something like bishop d7 as well, when there shouldn't be a lot happening, because rook c8 is just coming. But the computer gives even bishop g4 as very accurate, forcing f3 and now going back bishop d7. So provoking f3, since now the bishop on e4 is a bit strange. Sometimes even there are some f5 ideas, and also the dark squares have been weakened in white's camp. So I think a very, very instructive idea actually with bishop g4. So I was thinking about this in general. I also wasn't sure after rook e4 in general what the rook, if the rook can become a bit can get into some strange positions. For example, knight c5 I was also thinking about, and rook d4, when I thought it should be good for me, but the rook on d4 does look a bit strange, I thought. But knight c5 is actually an inaccuracy, and here I'm already quite a bit better. But yeah, knight f6 would have been the way, and my opponent also told me that he would have gone for this. But I took bishop takes e4, again with a similar idea. After knight f6, I wanted to go bishop g5. Or was it here? Here it was actually queen takes d4 I was also thinking about. Because bishop g5 also the same here, this position. I thought that these, having both rooks, these rooks still on the board, might favor me, because I have some bishop h7 ideas sometimes. Bishop h7 right away, by the way, black can simply play king f8, at least I thought this during the game, and then the bishop will probably have to go back, because otherwise black traps it with g6. But yeah, here I actually wanted to go queen takes d4, I think, and here I did not see for him how to completely equalize unless I was blundering something, because these positions, for example, I thought if black gets some active play, if he gets queen f6 and then bishop f5, he should be fine. But otherwise he does have some issues with development, because queen f6 right away doesn't work because of queen e8. And if bishop d7, I thought I can go bishop f4, when I still did not see the equality for my opponent here. But maybe he can go for something like h6, and it should still be somewhat okay. But I thought I do have some chances here. But he played knight e5, and I saw this in my calculation, but after taking here, I offered a draw, by the way, which he accepted. And what I missed was that after bishop e5, I intended to go bishop h7, king h7, queen h5 check, king g8, rook takes e5, when I thought I won a pawn. But here black has bishop g4, and all of a sudden I'm lost here. Because if I take on g4, black simply wins the exchange. And otherwise, if I take on e8 first, then both my queen is hanging and queen e1 is threatening with checkmate. And yeah, here I would simply lose the queen. What I missed was after knight e5, I could have tried something here, which is bishop f4. For some reason, I did not really consider this at all, which is, yeah, not great. It turns out black is still fine, but he needs to find some accurate moves here. Bishop g4 was the way. Bishop takes e5, and here in this line, I think it was bishop e5, bishop h7 check, king h7, queen h5 check, king g8, rook takes e5, and black needs to be a bit careful since he's a pawn down, but he does have enough activity. There are even some correspondence games here. Queen a5 was the accurate move when black gets quite serious counterplay, even some d3, d2 ideas. Also the pawns on the queen side are a bit loose. So this would have been still fine for him, but would have been a much better try than simply playing knight takes e5 and offering a draw here. After bishop e5, if he would have played on, I mean, the position is completely symmetrical. I guess I would have gone for something like bishop d2 or g3, because, as I said, I realized that bishop h7 isn't working and I would even lose there. Queen d3 also looks nice, but here I have the same issue after f5. If the bishop moves, black has these ideas with bishop takes h2. So I would have had to go for something like bishop d2. When I'm still a tempo up here, now black needs to do something because now I'm actually threatening bishop h7. But now he could go for something like g6 when the position is pretty much dead equal. I could have played it on something like queen b3. Computer still gives some slight edge for white, but it's 0.08 or something like this. So, and the position doesn't have a lot to offer, I think. And yeah, therefore I offer the draw. So not that much happening in that game as well, like in the first two games. But yeah, I still did not lose any games, which is good. I'm happy with that. Of course, I'm still a little bit upset about not winning yesterday, but yeah, there's nothing I can do now. And yeah, I will check this line because it's actually an important theoretical line to check. And yeah, after that, hopefully I learned something at least from this game. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's analysis, even though the game was not that long. I hope that you could still get some value at least out of the opening, what I could tell you. And yeah, other than that, thank you for watching. If you did like the video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching, guys.